Welcome back. Let us start with the next gas analyzer, which is based on thermal conductivity. We did this type of technique in gas chromatography also, wherein we used it as a detector in gas chromatography, the thermal conductivity cell, if you all recollect. Now in that, we were using the same principle and about thermal conductivity of the gases, and here also we'll be using the same principle, that means the thermal conductivity of various gases. Now every gas will have a different thermal conductivity, and depending on the thermal conductivity it will absorb heat from the surroundings. Now what is done here is basically, if you observe here in this diagram, it is a Wheatstone bridge which has 4 elements, out of which R1 and R2, these two elements, R1 and S1, these two elements are reference gas and sample gas elements, and these two are fixed, S2 and R2. Initially, when the sample gas is absent and only the reference gas is passed, these two are filaments, R1 and S1, which are heated filaments, and these heated filaments will exchange some heat between the reference gas. That means they will normally be cooled down. So these resistances R1 and S1 will reduce, and then we adjust this D, this potentiometer D, such that our Wheatstone bridge is balanced. Once our Wheatstone bridge is balanced, we are ready for measurements. Now what is done? The sample gas will now be passed through S1, through this filament. When it is being passed through S1, depending on the thermal conductivity, it will either be greater than the reference gas or it will be lower than the reference gas. Very rarely it will be same as the reference gas. So when it is different than the reference gas, obviously the resistance of this particular element will either drop or increase, changing the balance of the bridge. And this change in balance will directly be proportional to the amount of sample gas that is entering into the sample cell. This is the simple basic principle and basic operation of a thermal conductivity analyzer. Now, instead of using heated filaments, we could also use thermistors directly. Thermistor, if you recollect, which was done in transducer 1. In a thermistor, even though it is an NTC, that means negative temperature coefficient type of temperature transducer, that means as temperature increases, its resistance decreases. But if you recollect, it has a very sharp curve, because of which it has an exponential curve. That means it has a very high sensitivity. It is non-linear. It has a very, very high sensitivity. Small change in temperature will give you a large change in resistance. This will improve the sensitivity of our instrument. So if we use a thermistor instead of the heated filament in thermal conductivity analyzers, then we can use them for higher sensitive devices, and automatically the sensitivity of the device will increase. So what is done here is, instead of the R1 and S1 which were there in the previous diagram, we are replacing it by two thermistors, and there will be a reference and a sample. Bridge will be balanced when both the cells have reference gas, and when there is a sample gas introduced, that time the bridge will go imbalance, because eventually there will be change in resistance, and this change in resistance is directly proportional to the amount of sample gas which is entering the sample cell. Now the next gas analyzer is based on gas density. Every gas has a different density. One gas will be either lighter or heavier as compared to the other. So taking advantage of this density difference, this particular density analyzer has been developed. Here in this case also we are having two heated elements, B1 and B2. These are two detector elements. The reference gas is entering through inlet A. It is divided into two paths. It is going to move over these two filaments, B1 and B2. Then it will come to the outlet. Initially, when there is only reference gas, we can actually have a balance. That means the cooling of B1 and B2 will be same because the reference gas is same. The density of the gas is same. So the cooling of B1 and B2 will be same. Now, after this balance, if I let the sample gas to enter from this inlet C, that time it will come in and again split into two parts, this one and this one. Now when it is split into two parts, it will come down, and depending on its density, it will either, if it is heavier, if the density of the sample gas is more than the density of the reference gas, the sample gas gets accumulated here. I repeat, if the density of the sample gas is greater than that of the reference gas, then the sample gas will get accumulated at the bottom. Now, because it gets accumulated here, it is going to block the passage of the reference gas over the element B2. And there will be a free movement for the reference gas through the element B1. Hence, B2 gets more heated because it is not getting cooled by the reference gas as it was in the previous case. Whereas B1 is stable, B1 is getting cooled as it was in earlier case. These two are elements in a Wheatstone bridge which will be imbalanced, and the reading or the signal of the Wheatstone bridge will be directly proportional to the gas which is entering, the sample gas which is entering, or amount of sample gas which is entering the cell. Similarly, if this particular sample gas is lighter as compared to your reference gas, it will get accumulated in this portion and it will block it, or rather the flow will be a combination of the sample as well as reference gas. So here it will take time for the reference gas to pass over B1. The same situation will now occur. B1 will be more heated. That means it is not being cooled enough as compared to B2. There will be an imbalance in the bridge and it will detect the amount of gas that is entering the particular gas analyzer. So this is how it works on the basis of the density of the gas. It is not an analyzer which is measuring the density of gas. It is an analyzer based on gas density. So don't worry that if the gas is lighter, what will happen? If the gas is heavier, what will happen in the Wheatstone bridge? Don't worry about that. What we are worried about is, we are worried that is B1 imbalanced or is B2 imbalanced. And then the Wheatstone bridge final output will get imbalanced or will not be zero, and the change in the output will give us the amount of gas proportionally. Okay. Now, as we saw, gas density analyzer or analyzer based on gas density. Similarly, there are analyzers which are based on the absorption properties of or photometric properties of gases. For example, here we are seeing nitrogen meter. Nitrogen is being measured. Now, this nitrogen is going to give out some radiations when it ionizes or when it excites, as would be in the case of UV or visible radiation spectrometry. So this is a type of spectrometry only. Here nitrogen gives out a very sharp purple color. So we have to identify that purple color, and the intensity of that purple color will actually tell us how much amount of nitrogen is present in the gas mixture. So here if we see, we have the gas flowing, a gas mixture flowing through this particular pipe. Here we have introduced an smaller diameter pipe, or we could say it's a very small orifice, and there is a vacuum pump here at the bottom, which is sucking in small amount of this gas mixture into this particular tube here. Now in this tube, we have an anode cathode, which is ionizing the gas when it is coming here. And that time, absorption of electrical energy will excite the atoms, take it to a higher level, and when they'll come back to its ground level, that time they will emit some radiations. And these radiations will be directly proportional to the amount of gas that is present, sample gas that is present in the gas mixture. The filters will be normally tuned to what type of gas we want to measure. For example, if this is a nitrogen meter, I will have to use a filter which will be tuned to purple color, because when nitrogen will absorb energy and relax coming back to its ground state, it will give out purple color. We have to identify that purple color using a photocell provided to an amplifier and then record it or display it accordingly. So this is how a nitrogen meter will work. Similarly, if I want to measure some other gas also, I can apply the same technique to it. The next one is nitric oxide using a cobalt laser. CO is cobalt here. So you are using a cobalt laser to excite the sample cells. Once the sample cells are excited, they give out radiations in the infrared region. These infrared radiations will then be detected and provided to a recorder. This is how nitric oxide will be measured. Similarly, you can measure nitric oxide using another technique, that is laser optoacoustic, or I would rather say that both these diagrams are same, their working is same, only the difference is in the modulator chopper that is provided here. Otherwise, both the diagrams are going to work in a similar fashion only. They are from two different books, so they are diagrammatically a bit different. Otherwise, their working principle is same. You have a laser, it excites the sample, it will give out radiations in terms of infrared, which will be measured. The next one is carbon monoxide measurement. Here again, we have a light source, optical filters, then you have the sample cell and the reference cell. Do you recollect double beam instruments? So this one is a double beam instrument. Beam is passing through the sample cell as well as through the reference cell, going on to a single detector and then to a preamplifier and then to a recorder. Whatever absorption will take place of this light source in the reference cell and the sample cell, the change will be detected by the detector and then provided to the preamplifier. The change will be directly proportional to the amount of carbon monoxide present in the sample. This brings us to the end of industrial gas analyzers. We have covered oxygen analyzer, carbon dioxide analyzer, carbon monoxide analyzer. Then we have also covered nitrogen. We have covered nitric oxide. We also covered an analyzer which is based on the density of the gas. In oxygen analyzers, we have paramagnetic type, magnetic wind type, and we have the magneto-pneumatic type. and we had galvanic cell or the fuel cell type. So 4 types of oxygen analyzers, and the rest were single. Now, any doubts up to this point? And if we have no doubts, I think we can finish our lecture. Thank you very much for attending. And if you have any doubts, you can always get in touch with me. Thank you.